So welcome Tim Corcoran to the Youth Forum at the International Forum for Ecological Civilization. Tim Corcoran is the co-founder of Headwaters Outdoor School and the author of the Earth Caretaker Way, an inspirational book that invites us to be co-creators with nature. Tim works with youth in school groups and camps for learning wilderness skills, as well as rites of passage for young adults and even some of us adults. So Tim, thank you so much for joining us today.
Happy to be here.
Yes, thank you so much. We have guests from all over the world, but in this particular breakout session, we're speaking to the youth and for the youth. We're focusing on how the youth can participate in developing ecological civilization. So I would love to have you speak, Tim, to the ecological side of ecological civilization. So can you share with us some of the common challenges that you see among youth today and the results of their experiences in rewilding out there at Headwaters Outdoor School? And rewilding as in human beings, we are rewilding.
Well, one of the biggest challenges I see for youth is much of the youth today is overwhelmed with this feeling of hopelessness for caring for our earth and with all the problems that are happening. And part of the hopelessness comes from there's a lack of connection to the earth that I see. We must build our relationship with the earth in order to fight for the earth, in order to work for the earth. So that's a big one. And there's so much negative news, which I understand. I just listened to a speaker talking about the rise in temperatures and where it's going. It's terrifying to hear that. So the youth keeps hearing this kind of information, and they don't know what to do. They get lost in it. So what I'm about is bringing in hope, bringing in purpose, and it's youth can grow up and their life purpose can become caring for the earth. And one commonality I think all humans look for in their lives is, why am I here on this earth? What can I do? And often we think of our life purpose as the way we make a living, and that can certainly be a part of it. We don't consider that living as an earth caretaker can be a purpose in life. And if youth takes that on, and adults too, for sure, take that on, it makes your whole life better because you're engaged in the greater good and solving problems and making things better than just feeling depressed and overwhelmed and angry and upset all the time. So you win in a lot of different levels when you take that on. So let me read one little thing from the book. It's like a little kind of a poem saying that kind of gives you this idea. Your earth needs you. Speak up for the earth. Stand up for the land. Be the voice of the earth. See the wrongs inflicted and right those wrongs. Live as if this generation is the last. Fighting for our home, even if you're the last one standing, win or lose, it must be done. What happens to the earth happens to you. Your earth is calling on you. And I really believe that that's what it's all about. And I can go into ways of doing that if you'd like.
Well, thank you so much for sharing that passage. That was really inspirational and really key. What I'd love to talk about a little bit more is the rites of passage that you facilitate for young adults, as well as these immersion workshops that you're beginning now for the Earth Caretaker Way. Could you tell us more about how you've developed and adapted this indigenous practice and the importance of cultivating this during our current time of crisis? The importance of rites of passage, wilderness rites of passage.
Wilderness rites of passage. I was lucky enough when I was a kid, about 12 and a half, 13 years old. I went on a trip around the United States to 35 states with my mentor and elder. And with his son and myself, and we were on a trip to discover the mountains, the deserts, the oceans, the rivers of the United States. And so we went to wilderness areas all over the country. And as we loop back, we came to Mount Shasta, California, which is where I live and my school is. And I didn't know it until we got to on the mountain. Bo Almroth was my mentor. He said, "You're going to do a rite of passage. You're going to go up the mountain, sit on the side of it. You're going to spend 24 hours alone. You're going to write a code of honor to live your life by. And you're going to connect deeply, deeply with nature on a very personal level. And then you're going to come back and start to live as a person of honor in this world." And, I was young. I didn't quite grasp it completely, but I did it. And I grew into what I thought was an amazing person I've had an amazing life fighting for and caring for and living with the earth. And I can track it back to that time. So it came to me that indigenous cultures throughout the world before modern times, rite of passage was absolutely a must. Every young child, boy and girl, when they became of age, somewhere around 13, 14, they would do a rite of passage. And that ensured that they would have a good life, that the people in the tribe or the community or the clan would have a good tribe going forward, because these people took on codes of honor and worked hard to live a life that was not just for themselves, but for their community and the earth for the greater good. So I thought, when I started the school to teach people deep nature connection, I thought one of the best ways was bring back rite of passage. And one of my very first rite of passages that kind of set me off, there was a Jewish rabbi who called me up, and his boys had done a bar mitzvah. And he said, "I want you to do a rite of passage for them." And I thought, so I really explored it. And they came to my land in Mount Shasta, and we did one. And it was so incredibly successful that I just kept doing it from there. And now we've been doing it for over 33 years. And it's just, I think it's one of the foundational parts of our school. And I've noticed now that a lot of other people around the country are starting to do rite of passage too. So it's catching on. And the more the better. And so at the end of the day, it creates good people and people who love the earth. And boy, do we need that today.
Can you explain a little bit about the code of honor that you emphasize in the rites of passage that you do there?
So, a code of honor is their basic values that pretty much all humans would agree are good to live, but they're also very difficult for most humans to live on a consistent basis. So, the code of honor is simple things like to be of service, to help when help is needed, to be kind, um, to care for the earth, to be respectful of all living beings, um, and on and on. There's quite a list of values that no one would argue with, but living them is a very different thing. So they commit to making their life about living these things on the code of honor, and they grow into it. No one's perfect, but they grow into it. There does come a point, I believe, if you take these values serious, they literally become who you are. It's not like you have to read them anymore or study them or think about them. You are of service. You are a kind person. You are a more aware person. You are more engaged in caring for the earth. That becomes who you are, like your personality, or as some of our ancestors would have called it, your personal medicine. I've shown that code of honor to many adult groups, and they're like flabbergasted at how amazing it is. And they always say, "Gosh, I wish I had that when I was a kid. I wish I had that when I was a kid." One of the things I get out of this too is it gives me great hope that there is a good future, even with all the difficulties coming our way.
Yeah, I'd like to build on that a little bit. How do you think rites of passage could help us collectively mature as a culture so that we can be moving forward towards an ecological civilization?
The rite of passage helps us to take on a life purpose, as I mentioned before, caring for the earth. And one of the things that's always on a code of honor is commitment and being committed to something fully, where you're fully in and you give it your best. And a commitment to the earth and growing into becoming an earth caretaker is the ultimate commitment. It helps us to become great people for the earth, for animals, for plants, for communities, for society. Everything wins when a person grows into that. And I'm not saying they're going to be perfect all the time, but you go back to it, and there does come a day when it is extraordinary how so perfect you could be with this, you know. So I have great hope with that, and part of it is you have to build a relationship with the earth. It's I've noticed that a lot of people who love nature, they don't necessarily have that deep personal relationship with the earth, that where they feel what the earth feels, where they think like the earth thinks. And I want people to know we are earthlings. We are part of the earth. We are not separate. We are the earth. And one of the things we've lost in modern culture is that deep personal relationship with trees, with plants, with animals. We often look at the earth from the outside in, like we're reading a book or looking at a film. And it needs to become personal. And rite of passage helps build that. And once that happens, it's hard to turn away and not be a part of the greater good.
That
And
sounds like the future I want to be a part of.
and this is a time for heroes. We need people to step up. It's a time for heroes.
Excellent. Well, for all of our audience that is viewing this talk, Tim has a book called The Earth Caretaker Way that was recently published that you can access. Find it on Amazon or wherever you order your books. It has inspirational stories and practices that all of us can do to become more connected to the earth and to recognize that we are expressions of nature. We're not separate. So, Tim, I would like to ask you, is there anything else that you would like to say to the youth of today that are the future developers of ecological civilization?
I'm going to read you another quote from the book for that. Where do we go from here? How do we become earth caretakers? How do we get away from that hopelessness to being able to fight for the greater good, still see the problems, but be a part of the change? We know the problem. We know what caused it and what is continuing to cause destruction of our environment. We have the brain power to find solutions. The question that may haunt future generations is, will humanity come together for the greater good and make the changes required now? Honestly, I don't know, but I do believe in miracles, and I always come from hope. So I say, never give up. The earth remembers. The earth knows how to heal herself. If we get involved and make it a part of our daily practice to care for the earth, from the smallest little things to the biggest, but always stay involved, the earth will do her part to heal. And she knows better than anyone. And it becomes a partnership that we can go forward into the future and feel good. Yes, we're going to have some difficulties from global warming to deal with, and we're going to have to learn to live with a lot of it. But with this kind of an attitude, we can do it. So I'll just end by saying I have hope, and I want to repeat, never ever give up. It's our earth. There is no other way. Never give up.
Hi, Tim.
Howdy.
So good to see you. I remember vividly last year
Yeah, I
visiting
remember you.
Headwaters School. It was so beautiful. And
Come
it's,
back and visit.
as you said, it's very personal. And then I felt that the personal connections. And then also I can feel that you had that personal connection with the land and built that so deep over the 30, 40 years that you've been building it. And it occurs to me while I'm listening to you and then earlier when I'm listening to today's first session, it made me think more about this youth forum that we're putting together. I think collectively humanity is at their youth. We are, although we're at different age, younger and older in our personal formats, but collectively humanity is at adolescence. I don't know if you agree with me. I think we are
I
not,
completely agree.
we embody all the characters that adolescents have. Like we toss around our resources and we're not that responsible. We can't really see the consequences of our doings. And I think this modernity do not acquire us to go through rite of passage, do not have the rite of passage. And the humanity collectively in this mid of the crisis, it almost feel like we need to go into a collective rite of passage. And perhaps this current crisis that we're in now is the rite of passage that the Earth Mother have prepared for us. One thing that is essential for rite of passage is that experience of danger, experience of dying, renewing, or almost like lose hope, and then going through that dark tunnel and come out. And I don't know if you agree that perhaps we are collectively going through this crisis of the earth as a rite of passage, that we, who's guiding us? How do we come out? And can we tap into the wisdom of the rite of passage, kind of mirroring onto our collective situation now? I wonder if you have some insight on that.
I do believe we're all going through it. But one of the things I've noticed is for many people around the world, particularly in the northern climates, we're not really feeling the pain that comes with what's happening to our planet right now. Um, with the heating, many of the people in southern climates are, and they're paying a dear price. But it's really hard to get people motivated when it's not affecting them personally, even though it is, they just don't know it. That's one of the biggest challenges. And that's why I say we have, and I know this seems like maybe it's going to take too much time, but we have to help people to build their relationship with nature in a personal way so they feel what the earth feels and then they go to work for her. To do it just through intellect rarely works until it becomes an outright disaster where we're surviving. The hope I have is that, like many problems in life, we don't know how to solve them. We know how to solve this problem. We know what to do. So the question is, what's going to get us off our collective butts to do it? And caring for the earth, committing to it, committing to making it our life path, and then giving solid things we can do for the earth is the answer. And then again, if we jump in and do it like that, the earth will start to do her part and it'll become a collective. Um, so I have great hope. And one of the other hopes I have is there's a man who wrote a book called oh, I can't it's called Blessed Unrest. And I read that book, and it's about people all around the world, not even part of governments, not even part of organizations like the Sierra Club, just people on their own getting up and working for the greater good of social justice and for the earth. And it's happened in every country around the world. So I believe there's this collective consciousness lying under the daily life process that we go through, that if we awaken it, we'll jump on. And that's why I really believe the Earth Caretaker Way can become a movement that people can take on. And wherever they live, they can feel like they're a part of the solution because there's so many things people can do. And that's where my hope lies. And if I'm wrong, uh, humanity is going to get a lot smaller, and the Earth's going to take care of herself anyway, as she's always done. We need to mature, and we need to mature fast. And I have hope that we will. I'm not just saying that. I really do have hope.
Thank you so much, Tim. I really appreciate your insights and inspiration and sharing so much with us today. We will share out the information for your book and Headwaters Outdoor School so many people can look into how they can join into the rites of passage and your offerings for youth and young adults. And we'll let you go back out into the wilderness to do what you do best. And we'll
Thanks
share.
for putting on this incredible event.
Yes, thank you so much.
You guys, by doing this event, you are Earth caretakers. That's an example of what has to happen.
We did it.
Oh,
Love to you. Thank you, Tim.
all the best.
Okay, bye.